Hey everyone, Chris here. I want to give you an update on the forecast as we move through the remainder of this work week. Thanks for joining me on this extended look at your Local 5 weather impact forecast. All right, let's go into it here. I want to take a peek outside at what we have going on. You can see over West Des Moines and downtown, it's a mix of clouds. We've seen them variable at times today, depending on what part of the state you're at. Generally over southern Iowa, there's been a few showers, perhaps a gentle rumble of thunder. I'll go ahead and take a little bit of a closer look here and pause it right now. Sigourney down through Bloomfield. That's where we're finding the most concentrated activity. A few more showers further back to the west, say towards the La Villa area, and Sheraton, Corden, Osceola, and a couple of more showers in extreme northwestern Iowa. Really nothing to get too much into a tizzy about. But this activity has been pushing through, perhaps a little bit of some dampness, mainly over southern Iowa, and you see those clouds generally variable. Now, there is a bit of a stationary boundary down over southeastern Iowa. In fact, it's slightly moved its way back north a little bit. And this feature is going to be present into our Wednesday forecast as well. And it's going to be the focus point for additional development. Right now, we have it along this front down over southern Iowa. It is going to have some slight northern movement, but not very fast. So that's why I'm calling it a stationary boundary. But into Wednesday, it's going to shift northwards by about 75 miles or so. And we're going to be looking at this feature sparking some more activity early on Wednesday morning, tonight, if you will, and continuing off into northern Iowa beyond. Now, with that boundary in play, we have very low end severe weather opportunity. It's not the best setup. Generally here this afternoon, we do have some access to some energy here at the surface. Why don't I jump over to the other browser, and we'll take a look at this here. And you do see that on the satellite picture, we have some clouds that are variable through, but I want to jump over to the models here and see we do have some surface-based energy to use, though we will cap off as the night progresses. And that means these cells are going to be more elevated in nature. And we'll look at the mixed layers we go overnight. So still able to use that. And then everything kind of shifting northwards. That's with that frontal movement, I think. And still we're going to have some energy to use as that happens. That shifts to the north. The shear isn't huge. We have enough cape there. We're not going to be talking about big bad thunderstorms here. You see in the updraft helicity swaths. That basically means the updraft and how much spin it has with it. And generally, we're on the lower end of the spectrum here. Don't start getting too excited until we start to get into the yellow and orange and red shaded regions. Notice everything is fairly benign. Now, it is a cooler early season setup. We could see some pockets of hail as we go throughout here. One thing notably absent is going to be a tornado risk. We're just not surface based as we go overnight into Wednesday. So that's going to really be a limiting factor here in the grand scheme of things. Let me get back over, and I want to show you here the day 2 outlook as well, because it's about the same place, same level of severity, level 1. And basically what this level 1 is isolated in nature. We're not expecting widespread severe weather. So I think we're going to see some spotty areas of gusty wind or some small hail that may rise to the occasion and reach that 1-inch threshold. As I mentioned, that little feature does start to lift back northwards a little bit overnight into tomorrow. And you see this activity scattered back through the region as we go really through the entire day. We'll see a temperature of 74, and we'll have to watch the clouds and the rain that may influence it just a little bit. But generally speaking, this is going to be surmised as a mild day overall with a couple scattered areas of rain. So as I mentioned, the wind and hail on the isolated side of the picture. This is not a widespread severe weather scenario. I don't want anyone to be too scared about this. It's not going to be widespread, and it's not going to be all too impactful. So low-end risks, if you will, and coverage. It is ultimately a pretty active stretch. all the way through the end of the week. We'll see another surge of rain in here on Thursday, going into Thursday night that takes over. This active pattern actually continues into next week just a little bit. I want to take into account just the activity through the end of the week here. So this would be through Friday. And we're looking at a swath, as you see, across central Iowa, a decent little swath here. And I'd say 1 inch to 1.5 inches is going to be pretty widespread. In the yellows and oranges and reds, we do fall outside of that bounds a bit on the high side, and conversely in the lighter greens, outside on the low side. So it's no guarantee that everyone gets into this inch and a half range, but I do think that's kind of the target mark to shoot for. And eventually, even though this activity is scattered in nature, it should cover a decent amount of the state. Now, this is not going to be a scenario where it's raining for the next 3 days straight. You'll pick up a decent amount in one sitting, and perhaps if you're lucky enough, you pick up another or even a second wave to slide through. So we're going to pick this up in spurts. We're not talking at a long-term deluge or soaking like what we saw on Easter Sunday. This is going to be more pinpointed on seeing that rain. As I mentioned, going into Thursday, that next round slides through, you see showers and a couple of thunderstorms sliding through. I'm not looking at this scenario as being severe weather producing, but we will see some rumbles of thunder and some more opportunities for rain as we go into that time frame. Tonight, 52 degrees is what we are anticipating for the overnight low. And tomorrow, 74, give and take with the temperature, depending on the clouds and also the rain situation. There is a couple of places that may make a run at 80 degrees. I do think southern Iowa is a little bit more dry on Wednesday compared to central and northern Iowa. So I'd say along I-80 and points northwards have the best opportunity to see this rain. I want to take a look at the long run because we do have actually a pretty active pattern littered with little waves sliding through, but it's pretty zonal. What I mean by that is running east and west. Now that changes a little bit as we in the weekend. You see that little bit of a bubble begin to pop up from the south. That's a sign of some warmer air. And generally when we see this bubble, it means quieter conditions as well. But watch, every bubble has a little dip that's usually close by. And on the other side, we see that storm system developing. Those dips usually yield some stronger systems to develop when you see those slide through these ridges and troughs, what we call them. So this is a favorable setup for seeing a system slide through and an early indication that we may have to deal with some severe weather. Now, I mentioned this not to scare you or hype up this event, but I just want you to put it on your radar that it is a distinct possibility out towards Monday. Specifically, I'll be targeting the later stages of the overnight going into Tuesday morning, but a larger system nonetheless that we are going to be watching going forward. Now, let's take a look at that 7-day forecast, and you do see generally this is going to be a mild stretch of days ahead. We have a lot of 60s and 70s, a little bit of an uptick there as we go into next week, a sign of the amplitude moving in, and then that system sliding through later into that time frame. At or above normal temperatures is what we're looking at as we go through this period. We'll get a dry one on Saturday. That one is obviously going to get the gold star. Of course, we got some races going on down at Knoxville. Should be good to go in that regard. It is an active stretch ahead, but at least for the initial offerings here through the end of the week, very low end severe opportunities. I'm not too concerned in the grand scheme of things over the next 3 days. I'd be more watching how the scenario unfolds as we go into Monday night, and into early Tuesday morning with that next system. Welcomed rainfall, maybe a little untimely for the farmers trying to get in the field. As you see, we're avoiding those freezing temperatures, and our average final freeze is usually about now through the end of April in central Iowa. So go ahead and get your plant on, central Iowa. Find those dry times to get in the gardens. I think you're in good shape here to avoid any neglect from Mother Nature pushing those temperatures too cold. Thanks for joining me on this forecast update for you, no matter how you're watching us. We're Iowa Plus, YouTube, Facebook, weareiowa.com, or our mobile app. I appreciate joining me. Until next time, I'm Chris Kubal. You take care out there.